This is the beginning of podcast number 4, which of course is about Chapter 2, the Skill Theme Approach. The skill theme approach is used most commonly in elementary physical education, usually for the grades kindergarten through about 2nd grade. It used to be called the movement education approach, where students are asked to do different challenges and movements and explore different ways of doing certain things when they move. It's a chance for children to enjoy moving and to discover different ways of moving on their own. The skill themes are basically made up of the fundamental motor skills, such as walking, running, dribbling, volleying, kicking, punting, and so on. These fundamental motor skills are all used later on in more organized games, sports, dance, and other physical activities, such as hiking and geocaching and things like that. The skill themes are based on the idea that the content in physical education is dance, gymnastics, aquatics, games and sports, outdoor or adventure activities, and fitness. The skill theme approach is based on making sure that all activities or physical tasks that you ask the students to do are developmentally appropriate for them. At this level, we don't go by their age or their grade level, we go by what their developmental level is. In other words, is it pre-control, control, utilization, or proficiency? It's very unlikely that kindergarten through 2nd grade you would find a student that is proficient at any skill. However, it might be possible. This approach, which allows students to explore, lets them explore at their own levels. Therefore, if students have different abilities or different advanced motor skills or low ability at motor skills, then they can explore at their own level. As it says at the bottom of this slide, the curriculum diamond suggests the content to be taught in elementary, middle school, and high school. We'll talk about the curriculum diamond later on in Chapter 2, but basically the curriculum in physical education within a district is usually scoped and sequenced according to the content, again, that's developmentally appropriate. We try to match the lessons to the students' abilities. Again, we use the generic levels of proficiency, which you'll learn more about in Chapter 5, pre-control, control, utilization, and proficiency. We try to match their ability levels by the spirals that are in the textbook according to those 4 different levels of proficiency. As the second bullet on this slide says, the skill themes are initially practiced in isolation, in other words, without another partner around or whatever. Then, as youngsters develop their motor skills, they practice them more in sports, games, gymnastics, and dance contexts where they actually combine the skills together. This progression is called scaffolding. In other words, starting with the most simplest task that you can give a student and then adding things to it, building upon those tasks to make them more challenging for the students. The third bullet here is more important for when you become a beginning teacher and you have students coming every week. But basically, what we try to do as elementary physical education teachers is to revisit the skill themes several times throughout the year, rather than just having them in units of several weeks and then never seeing those skills again or practicing those skills again. Most importantly, cognitive, physical, and affective concepts are interwoven throughout the skill theme approach rather than taught as isolated units. And again, those are the 3 learning domains. The cognitive concepts are the motor principles that we're learning about. The physical concepts they'll learn during the tasks, and affective concepts, how they actually relate to other people in the class. The 4 motor development principles on this slide are very important for you to remember as you're teaching the kids at St. John's and at McPhee. Children develop at different rates. They are not going to all be proficient at the same skills, nor will they be developing proficiency at the same rate. It's important to remember. Age does not predict motor ability. Just because someone's in kindergarten does not necessarily mean that they do better in physical skills than the students that are in the third and four-year-old classes. This third bullet is very important for you to know. Children develop motor skills naturally through play. They also develop social skills naturally through play. So play is a very important thing for them to do, and play is usually what children do by themselves or maybe with a friend. And the last part of the motor development principles here, skillfulness is a result of practice or the opportunity to be able to practice. It is not a result of gender and or heredity. In other words, I would not be skillful to some physical education teachers because I'm a female. Just simply not true because I have had more opportunities to practice than most people. However, that may be true of male students as well. They may not have as much opportunity to practice. They may have been in music lessons for most of their childhood and never had a chance to go kick a ball. So you have to remember that it's opportunity to practice that's important, especially during your physical education classes. As we've said before, the skill themes are the fundamental movement patterns that we need to be able to participate in more complex activities and sports. They are more specialized patterns later on upon which we draw from, and we combine skill themes together. The skill theme approach is a way of teaching physical education that's organized around not just the skill themes, but the movement concepts that go along with them. They also describe both the content, what is being taught, and the pedagogy, how it's being taught. So we want to make sure, again, that the how it's being taught is for students to be able to explore and at their own levels. This is the curriculum diamond that was explained before. Again, during grades pre-K through 5, you're building a foundation of skill themes and or fundamental movement patterns for students to be able to use later on in grades 6 through 8, maybe more like grades 4 through 8, but they're exploring possibilities still then, but they're also using those skills in more organized and specific ways. Developing expertise is at grades 9 through 12. So at the top of the diamond, you're beginning to refine skills more and also trying to get students to get interested in one or two activities that they're very proficient in so they can do that for the rest of their life. This slide talks about the curriculum diamond also. Again, as the second bullet suggests, the development of a broad foundation of movement forms at the elementary and middle school level is very important for a student to be able to be successful in physical activities later on in life as well as at the high school level. In my personal opinion, instead of it being a curriculum diamond, it probably should be a curriculum pyramid because the largest base that we're working on for fundamental skills is when they first start in school. As we will start in our co-teaching this week, you'll first start focusing on developing the movement concept of space awareness. We're going to talk about general versus personal or self space. We'll probably stay on that for 2 or 3 lessons and then we'll move to effort and or relationships. And within those movement concepts, we're trying to teach them about space awareness as in what different pathways you might have, the directions you might have, the high and low levels in space, and so on. Relationships will come later on as we talk about relationships with implements, balls, paddles, scarves, hula hoops, and so on that a student has, as well as relationships with other people in the class and how they might practice in that way. The skill themes are basically in 3 different categories: manipulative skills, locomotor skills or traveling skills, and non-manipulative skills like balance. The skill theme approach emphasizes helping children develop skill competencies in those fundamental movement skills that are needed to participate successfully with enjoyment in a variety of games and activities. It differs from the traditional approach to teaching physical education, which is the teacher standing in front of the class and the students basically mimicking or repeating all of the movements that they make, because we want the students to be able to explore at their own levels how to do different skills and so on. And as they explore how to run better, how to catch and throw better, and so on, in different ways, different levels, and so on, they will get more practice and opportunities for practice. It is important for the children to learn the critical elements of the basic skills that they are going to learn in kindergarten and or 3 and 4-year-old classes. This is the end of podcast 4 for chapter 2. We'll go into podcast 5 next, comparing the skill theme approach with the traditional method of teaching physical education.